to uproot his family to go to, say, somewhere like Manchester or anywhere else for that matter. He mentioned again on after the match on Saturday about his heart. You said about that last week, but of course he only mentions it. He said, "Oh, my wife gets worried about my heart and all this stuff." Because on that winning goal, I said the place erupted, and don't know whether you saw it, but he ran down the touchline and then put the brakes on and ran back because he suddenly remembered last time he did that he got booked. So he said, "I don't want to be fined by the team again
Yeah.
for getting booked." So he's a man full of energy, full of belief, and that transmits to the players. He really got them all dancing to his tune. I mean, he's amazing. So yeah, Palace did very well to get him. I'm not sure who recommended him or whatever, but he's a first class bloke. And yeah, I think to answer the original question, I don't think he'll be going to Manchester United. I'm not even sure they're going to sackhammer him at this stage. But if they do, I don't think he'll go. I think he'll probably see out this season, I hope, and then look around and see what's happening for him. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think when the right job comes up in the future, I think he'll take it. And you actually wouldn't want to hold him back because Palace, whatever else we may do this or other seasons, we don't we have a great old ground, it's great atmosphere and so on. And there's talk of upgrading it, rebuilding one of the stands into a new bigger stand. But we're not going to be one of the big rich top six clubs. It's just not what can happen, as far as I can see, not for some years anyway. So he will want to move onwards, and I don't think anybody would deny him improving his own situation because he's a first-class manager.
It is indeed, yeah. Now we're going to come back to Palace's a bit in Liverpool because there's a lot to talk about Liverpool. So we're going to come back to that. But let's just go to, because you said there's about three managers that is, obviously they're looking at the iron or they maybe being linked. We don't know. And one of them, according to the tabloids, is it Brighton's manager called is it Fabian Hezela?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Fabian Hezela. Now Brighton Brighton is hurried to offer him a contract, so they're like, well, we better give him a new contract, get him, stabilized or whatever, just show him that, we appreciate him when we don't want him to go. And the other one is actually the one that is maybe the favorite. I'm not saying Oliver isn't. We love Oliver, but they're thinking about Zidane.
Yeah, Zinedine Zidane. Yeah.
Zinedine Zidane. Yeah, Zinedine Zidane.
Yeah.
Now, he's been linked with the job at Manchester United, and there's another rumor that Klopp is actually eyeing a return to management. We don't know how true this is. So in all, there's about five that they talking about. Now, let's just look at each of these managers. What do we make of Brighton's manager? Do we think it'll be a good fit?
I think he's clearly doing quite a good job there.
Yeah.
They still play their good possession football. So I think he does a good job. He's very young, isn't he? He's probably younger than one or two of the players. One or two of the players. So I'm not that could actually rule him out of a really big job.
Right.
Not that it necessarily should, but I think he's still well into his 30s.
Yeah.
And
It looks it.
I don't know. Did you know how old he is? Do you know what his age is?
I don't know, but it looks quite young actually, like you said.
Yeah.
I would,
Somehow the 31 seems to stick in my mind, but I might be
right,
thinking of somebody else. But anyway, he's a young manager, which doesn't disqualify him from other jobs. But I do think in any walk of life that somebody needs a pretty good, healthy um, amount of life experience to be
mm,
successful, certainly in something like Premier League football management, where you're
mm,
dealing with a lot of egos, you're dealing with players on huge salaries, multimillionaires, which I
mm,
guess he will be himself anyway, because that's the pay of managers. I just think someone who's been around the management thing a bit longer. Now, I don't know what he did before he
mm.
became Brighton manager, but he can't have had too much managerial experience, I wouldn't have thought. And I
Yeah,
think Manchester United would be foolish to take somebody who really hasn't got that level of experience and youth. Okay, it's good to be young, but I think for me, it's got to be someone late 30s or into their 40s at the very least, I would have thought. So I
yeah,
would disqualify him. I think
right.
Zidane would be a good acquisition for any club, but I'm never convinced that he will come to Britain. I mean, he went back to Real Madrid, didn't he? And then he left again. He achieved a lot first time there.
Yeah.
And really, when you've done that with the biggest club in the world, which it
Mm.
probably is at the moment, along with Barcelona, then there's nothing else to achieve. You can only lower your achievements. If it's a bit like tennis players who go on playing when they start to lose, having been at the top for years, it's
Mm.
probably best to know when to say goodbye. And so, but I don't think Zidane would come. I don't know why. I've just perhaps read something in the past that he wouldn't come to the Premier League, a bit like Lionel Messi. He never
Mm.
came to the Premier League. And of course, as for Klopp made it quite clear when he went that he would never, if he came back to England, and I think he doubted that, he would never manage another club,
All right.
because
Okay.
Liverpool would always be his first love. And you can understand that. The very
Yeah.
last club he probably would go to is Manchester United because of the relative geography.